Hi and welcome to the Healing Wizard. Today's topic is mind over matter, which is a very important topic, and I think it's probably the most important topic to understand to live a healthier and happier life. So let's dig into it and have a look what we're gonna look at in this presentation. It is a presentation that includes around 60 slides, and some of the slides, some parts of the presentation I took from Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton, as you know, is quite famous for epigenetics and all his knowledge on the cells and how actually the DNA work and how our mind, our behaviors, our belief can influence this. And this is exactly what we are going to talk about in this video today. So the table of content, let's just go over it very briefly so you can understand what you will learn in this video and if this video is for you. But I can guarantee you, you should definitely watch this video because this will change your life. So let's have a look. The introduction, we will shortly talk about Bruce Lipton and his work, and I will explain the topic so in the welcome and objectives. Then we have a look at the central dogma of molecular biology, but don't worry, this presentation is kept very basic, so even if you find some fancy words in here that you don't understand, I will make sure in the presentation that it's very easy for you to understand what this all means and how it all works. Next we have a look at genetics, and we will have a look at the traditional view on genetics and the limitation and criticism. This limitation and criticism will actually lead us to epigenetics. You will learn that our genes are not that impactful. It's not like they told us many years that everything or most of the illnesses is because of genes or because it's in the family. You will learn this is actually not true, and with learning about epigenetics in the next point, you will be able to understand why this is not true anymore. And it's not just like one party, one person thinks this and the other thinks that. It's really with epigenetics, it can be explained in a very logical and very scientific way. So there's no question anymore that the way they teach us DNA or genetics before is not the right way. And this is actually the key, the epigenetics, to understand this is the key, as you will understand, to unlock and to change everything in your life. We will look at the environment, how the environment is actually changing our genes. And with the environment, we mean basically the environment, the people you surround yourself, but you will also see that if you put genes or DNA in a certain environment, this is especially interesting also if you look at stem cells. Stem cells can actually form everything that is needed in our body depending on the environment. So if you put the stem cell in an environment, it has to form proteins, then it will form proteins. If you put it in a different environment, it will form a different thing that we need in our body at this moment. But also it's very important the people we surround ourselves, because also these people form our belief, and you will learn to understand how this actually fits together. Perception and belief, you will learn the power of perception, and you will learn how actually perception leads to a belief. We'll talk about the placebo effect as well, and the placebo effect is possible in many different ways. We will look at some studies, we will look at some stories, we will look at some drugs that are actually just sugar pills but still work. And why is that? This is because of the placebo effect. Then we look at the conscious versus the subconscious mind. This is critically important to understand, because you will find out that most of the time your subconscious mind is in control and you're running basically on a program. You're not conscious, you're not aware what you're doing. And with epigenetics and with changing your behaviors, with your mind, with your belief, you can change your life. Then we have a look at how you can reprogram your subconscious mind. There is techniques that you can use. There is, for example, affirmations, visualizations, hypnosis, and other techniques that you can use to reprogram your mind. But you will learn that just being conscious or trying to be conscious, trying to monitor all the voices or your inner talk, everything that comes in from other people, just monitoring this and deciding for yourself if you want to take that in or if you want to still connect with this kind of people can help a lot already. Then we have the biology of belief, the core concept, the impact on the cellular function. This just helps you to understand much better what impact actually the belief has on the body. Maybe now for you it's already clear that the belief has got an impact on your mind, but it goes much deeper. You can control almost everything in your body. And this is why it's so fascinating, and this is why I said in the beginning, you can change your life, not just if you have mental problems or if you don't feel good, also physically. If you feel pain or whatever, there's ways to manage, to change your belief, to change your behavior and change your life. Then we have a look at practical applications, daily life practices. So we really go into the nitty-gritty to help you to understand how you can actually implement all these techniques that I'm talking about into your daily life. Mindfulness and meditation is also one part of it, but that will help you to become more conscious. Benefits in education, healthcare and business. We also look at these topics. Then we will look at challenges and misconceptions. We will address skepticism. We will address all critical questions you or somebody else may have. And we talk about common misunderstandings. And in the last point, we talk about future directions, the advancements in epigenetics and also the potential social benefits. So let's get started. A short word about myself. My name is Harald, also called the Healing Wizard, and I have specialized in mainly hypnotherapy. So I'm a hypnotherapist. I've done different ways of hypnotherapy. I've done RTT, Erickson hypnotherapy, also a little NLP, hypnotherapy combined with NLP, CBT and a little tapping. And I have also done some work or some courses on pain reprocessing therapy. So I can understand how all this works if we work on the body, and I can understand it how it works on the mind, because for the pain you have to work more on somatic tracking, also on the belief, but for the body and in hypnotherapy or in NLP you work mainly on the mind, which can also of course influence the body. But most people go to a hypnotherapist because of mental problems or issues or challenges they feel mentally. And in pain reprocessing, we can help people to feel better, get rid of the pain actually. I also want to talk about Bruce Lipton. Now his image seems to be gone on the right side, but I think you know how he looks like. A quote I really like from Bruce Lipton is, "The secret of life is belief rather than genes. It is our beliefs that control our life." So if you think about that, it tells us already everything that you will learn in this presentation. But it may seem or sound too good to be true for you, probably. And I can totally understand, because if you don't understand the techniques in the background, if you don't know about the subconscious and conscious mind, it's very hard to understand what is going on and what's running your day. But probably you have also already experienced that you starting your day, or you performing your days almost like you would be in a program, right? You wake up at the same time, you go to work, you eat the same stuff. So it's like in a program, and the minutes or the time that you actually consciously making decisions, this is just 5% of your day. 95% of your day, your subconscious mind, your programming is taking over. And Bruce Lipton is one of the big people in the industry that helped us basically understand this. Bruce Lipton is a well-known scientist. He did a lot of research in this field. He did a lot of stem cell research, and he's also the author of a lot of books. He is able to transport the knowledge in a much better way, I have the feeling, because if you look at Joe Dispenza, which is doing something quite similar, at least for my understanding, or in the beginning was much harder to understand. Bruce Lipton is much more clear on the topic for me. So we will now get into the topic and do a brief introduction of the topic so you will understand what you learn. So the purpose of this presentation is to explore how your mind influences your biology. But this is not the only thing, because this is one of the topics that is on the body side, right? But you will learn how the mind actually influences everything. But in this presentation, I try to make it more clear that the mind can also influence your body, which is probably not clear for most of the people watching. So we will dive into the mechanism why with our thoughts, beliefs and perceptions, why we can actually affect the genetic expressions and our overall health. So it's true, you can actually change your body with your beliefs. So we will look at genetics, and genetics, this is just definitions of some words we will use later in the presentation, so I make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to ask questions in the comments. If you watched it on our website, just use the chat or the contact form to ask us any questions. So we will start here with genetics and traditional view on DNA as the primary determinator of the traits and behaviors. You probably also learned that in school that we have certain health issues because of our parents or because of the DNA we got from our parents. Then there's epigenetics, and epi means over. So the epigenetics is basically over the genetics, is more important than genetics. Influence over environmental factors on gene expressions without changing the DNA sequence. So with epigenetics, basically, it is possible to overrule the DNA, so to say. The perception, how your perception and beliefs can act as signals that influence cellular behavior. So we will learn in this presentation, and we will understand in this presentation, how the perception and basically your belief can change your cellular behavior and also your general behavior. Subconscious mind. The role of the subconscious mind is shaping your reality and health, often operating on autopilot based on integrated programs. As we discussed already, most of your day you will spend in the program, which is the unconscious mind, which is running your life basically. We will also talk about practical applications to help you to understand how you can get out of that. One of the techniques is hypnotherapy, for example, or there's also energy psychology, and there's certain techniques that you can do also by yourself, like mindfulness, meditation, but also just monitoring your thoughts can help, because it's all about breaking the program and reprogramming yourself. I don't want to go into much details about the DNA, but this is just a very, very simple explanation how it actually works. So DNA structure. DNA is like a twisted ladder with building blocks. You all have seen like this DNA ladder here probably. The DNA function, it stores all genetic informations like a blueprint. So a DNA is nothing else than a blueprint. And the DNA can be turned on and off. So the copying of the DNA, the location is in the nucleus. Here, it's here in the picture. The copying DNA process is the DNA is converted into messenger molecules called RNA, mRNA, which carries the genetic information out to the nucleus. And then the building process, as you see here, the mRNA is used to assemble amino acids into a protein chain. Like I said, I don't want to go into that very deep. It's not that important for this presentation, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview that your DNA, you have to understand, is just a blueprint that we get from our parents, and then this DNA can be actually copied and how the process actually works. Much more important is the traditional view on genes. In the early 20th century, scientists believed that genes were the main controls of our traits and behaviors. So let me just read it for you. If you are maybe on the podcast, I will just read it and then we'll talk about that. In the early 20th century, scientists believed that genes were the main controls of our traits and behaviors. This perspective is known as genetic determinism, suggesting that our DNA rigidly determines who we are. The concept behind this, according to this view, genes act like a blueprint, dictating everything from physical traits to personality and intelligence. Examples: traits like eye color, height, and even certain behaviors were thought to be predetermined by our genetic makeup. What have been the limitation and criticism about that? Environment influence on gene expressions. So the concept, genes are not the only factor that determine traits and behaviors. The environment also plays a critical role. So what they did is they did not look actually at the environment. There's an interesting study where they looked at twins that have been separated at birth, and one developed in this way and one developed in that way, having the same genes but developing in very different ways because of the environment. Simple examples like that will show us that we can actually change on the environment. Is very important. And if we know that the environment is important, we know, or we slowly probably understand, that we are responsible for our environment. So we can change everything. So the key takeaways of this first part is really that they have not been looking at the environment, so they missed out on this point. Epigenetics shows that genes can be regulated by environmental factors without changing the DNA sequence. You don't have to change the sequence, you can just change the environment. Traits and behaviors are complex and result from interplay between genetics and environmental influences. So it's not like the genetics doesn't play any role, but there's just 5% of the people worldwide that really have a genetic defect, and it's very unlikely that you're one of these people. So you can believe that you can change everything you want. If it's physically or mentally, doesn't matter. Now we're getting into the interesting or exciting part, because now we talk about epigenetics. And epigenetics managed or shows us how we can actually use this to our advantage. So the definition of epigenetics. Epigenetics is the study of how behaviors in environment can cause changes that affect the way genes work without altering the DNA sequence. Gene expression. The concept is Epigenetics involves changes in gene activity and expressions without changing the DNA itself. An example of this is a gene might be turned on or off depending on environmental influences. So you have the gene, or even if you have the gene, you can turn it on or off. And this can be a cancer gene, this can be any other gene. Most of the time people think if there is some illness in the family tree, they will also get it. But this is not true. We know now that you can turn it on and off. And as you will learn later, this is very related to your environment and also to stress and everything that you believe, basically. Let's now look at the importance of understanding genetic flexibility. So the concept, genes are not static. They can respond and adapt to environmental changes. The example we have talked about already, the example is identical twins may have different gene expressions if they live in different environments. Health implications, general health implications, there's personalized medicine. Understanding epigenetics can lead to more personalized healthcare, where treatments are tailored based on individual gene expression patterns. This is just for basically the social environment already. For you, for yourself, I will show you also some tools that you can use yourself. But this is also important that we slowly move or adapt our understanding of this. And this should also be adopted by the healthcare system, of course. This is why we talk about it here in the health implications. Disease prevention, epigenetics research can help identify how lifestyle choices influence the risk of diseases like cancer and diabetes. To help you to understand the environmental factors better and separate them in some parts of your life, I have made a little overview for you here. So these are the examples of environmental factors, and we start with the diet. There's a lot of layers we can work on. We can work with the diet, for example. Nutrition from food can add or remove chemical tags on DNA affecting gene activity. Impact eating a balanced diet can positively influence genes related to metabolism and health. Then we have stress, which is one of the main important factors, I would say. Example is chronic stress can lead to change in gene expression. And also, not just this, but with the stress, it's more important that the stress is actually forcing you to use your subconscious mind. Because if you are in stress, the blood goes to your legs and arms because you are stressed. Your body thinks, or your subconscious mind wants to help you to escape a dangerous situation. And this is done in the subconscious mind. If you are in stress, your mind can't decide if you are really in life-threatening stress. So we don't have the ability to make any fine nuances in what kind of stress it is, unfortunately. If we are stressed, it's almost like the tiger is hunting us. And then it happens in the same way that the blood is actually leaving our gut, the blood is leaving our brain, and the blood is going into the arms and into the legs. This causes also the subconscious mind to be active, and we can't think logical anymore with our conscious mind. The impact stress hormones can turn off genes that help fight infections, making the body more prone to illness. This is another very important point, that there is even stress hormones that can deactivate actually the immune system. If you transplant some organs or something to another person to make sure that this organ is being accepted by the other body, they give the body stress hormones. So the body has got so much other things to do that he doesn't recognize that there is a different organ inside, or he doesn't have the capacity to actually do anything against it because there is so much stress hormones that this is not working. Just imagine what stress is doing to your health. Your immune system is not working anymore because there is no resources left. Your body or your mind or your machine basically thinks that there is no resources left to keep up the immune system. Why is that? Because it's more important that the tiger is not eating you than you are not getting any infections or whatever. So this is actually quite logical. It's just to keep you alive, and this is done by the subconscious mind. It's very difficult to switch into an awareness or get rid of stress if you don't have the right techniques to do that. Then there's also toxins. Exposure to harmful chemicals can disrupt normal epigenetic patterns. The impact long-term exposure can lead to disease such as cancer by altering gene expressions. Also, exercise is a point. Physical activity can change the expression of genes involved in energy metabolism. Impact: regular exercise can enhance gene activity that promotes muscle strength and endurance. Let's now have a look at the long-term impact on gene expressions, also called the epigenetic memory. And as you can see, this can actually be good and can be bad, whatever is emphasized or whatever is focused on. The concept: environmental factors can leave lasting marks on DNA that can be inherited by future generations. Example: the Dutch Hunger Winter study showed that famine during pregnancy led to changes in the offspring gene expression, affecting their health later in life. There's a lot of studies that show even if the baby is not born, even if the baby is in the first weeks, in the first days of pregnancy, that it can be an impact. There's also been made studies by animals that they have given a mother mouse electrical shock and at the same time the smell of peppermint. And when the baby was born of the mouse, even the mouse baby has never experienced this electrical shock. But when the baby smelled the peppermint, you could measure it in the body. It was actually releasing stress hormones. Isn't that fascinating? And this is probably a good way to understand how this can work. Disease susceptibility, the impact. Long-term exposure to negative environmental factors can increase the risk of developing chronic diseases. Example of that would be persistent stress or poor diet can lead to the epigenetic silencing of tumor suppressors genes, increasing the risk of cancer. Behavioral changes. The concept is environmental influences can alter genes related to behavior. Example would be children who experience high levels of stress may deploy changes in genes related to anxiety and depressions affecting their mental health long term. But also now the good news, everything can basically be also reversed or reprogrammed. So positive impact. Some epigenetic changes can be reversed with lifestyle modifications. Adopting a healthy diet and regular expressions can modify gene expressions, potentially reversing negative effects caused by poor lifestyle choices. And this is just one part of it. Of course, we can reverse almost everything with our belief, as we will learn later. And this is the power of perception. So the definition: perception is the way we interpret and understand the world around us. It shapes our reality and influences our reactions. It's very important how you perceive situations, things that happen to you. Also, this is true for pain. If you have pain, how you perceive the pain, what you think about the pain, why you think the pain is there. Depending on what you think of that. So basically we can say the perception. You can also say your belief, basically. What do you believe? Why is the pain there? If you have a good story for it, you will probably not be able to get rid of the pain. By good story, I mean a lot of people have bounded their identity to certain situations. Like they say, yeah, I am like this because, could be because of my parents, or I can't do this because, I don't know, I have pain in my hand, or I have arthritis, or whatever. There's a lot of factors that play into that. Impact on health. Positive perceptions can improve mental and physical health, while negative perceptions can lead to stress and illnesses. This is one of the key takeaways that you should know already. So what this says is basically you are the master. You have the ability to decide if you are feeling good or bad, if you are healthy or not healthy. This doesn't happen in 1 hour or 1 day. It could happen in 1 hour or 1 day. It could happen in 1 second. The thing is, you have to train your belief, and you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. And this is why for most of the people this doesn't work that fast, because they're not able to reprogram their beliefs that fast. Even if you're able to reprogram your belief very fast, you still have the problem, the disadvantage, probably the surrounding that will tell you something else. What I'm talking about is if you manage to form a belief in the beginning. If you change your belief in the beginning, the belief will probably not be too strong. But the more you encourage yourself, the more you work on the belief, the more you see it's real, the more you consume actually information confirming your belief, the more real your belief will be. The problem is just then if you are going into a different environment. I mean, you go to work, for example, or you meet with some friends that don't support your belief or even have a very opposite belief. Then you have to be strong and still continue to have this belief. And this is one of the challenges you will probably find. The power of perception. Perception and reality. Beliefs and perceptions can change our biological responses. So our belief can change everything. Example, believing a task is achievable can increase confidence and performance. The concept behind it is perception shapes how we see and interact with the world. It affects our emotions, decisions, and physical health. Positive perception, viewing challenges as opportunities, can lead to reduced stress, improved mental well-being. Negative perceptions, seeing obstacles as insurmountable, can increase stress, leading to health problems. There's also good examples around this topic. So in sports, for example, if you look at people who broke a world record, then it is very likely that shortly after this world record was broken, another one will break the record. Because what's changing? What's changing is just that other people now probably also believe that they can break the record. So they remove the limitation out of the brain and they can break the record. It's also very important to talk about the placebo effect and the benefits of the placebo effect. Placebo effect and biological changes. The definition of the placebo effect occurs when a person experiences real changes in their health after receiving a treatment that has not therapeutic effect, simply because they believe it will work. It can even be in medicine, for example, a sugar pill. You take a pill that you think will have a big impact on you, will actually restore your health, but all you're taking is a sugar pill that doesn't have any effect or any substances inside that will help you, but you believe it's so strong that it will help you. The mechanism is the following. The brain releases chemicals like endorphins and dopamine, which can reduce pain and promote healing. Example of that would be patients giving a sugar pill often report improvements in symptoms due to their beliefs in the treatment. The impact. The placebo effect demonstrates the power of the mind in influencing physical health. This is also very important. Like discussed in the beginning, a lot of people think that we can just influence the mind with our thinking, with our consciousness, with our being. But we can also influence our health. Another example here, the placebo treatment have been shown to work in conditions like pain management, depressions, and even some neurological disorders. The brain chemistry, the belief in the treatment can trigger the release of endorphins, the body's natural painkillers and other beneficial chemicals. So just by believing that you're taking this pill and it will help you, your brain will release the right kind of chemicals and help you in this way. So you're basically helping yourself. Psychological impact, the expectation of healing can lead to real physical changes in the body. Very interesting, very important. If you believe you can heal, you will be able to heal. Clinical implications. Understanding the placebo effect can help improve treatments, strategies and patients' care by harnessing the power of belief. Of course, this is not very much liked by the pharma industry, but hopefully we going slowly into that direction. A very important topic we have scratched a little already is the conscious and the subconscious mind. It's very important for you to learn to snap out basically of situations or be able to really understand what's going on around you. I mean, really listening to what you say to yourself or what it is that others are saying to you. Conscious versus subconscious mind. It is really important for you to understand if you are operating at the moment out of your subconscious mind or your conscious mind. There may be situations where this is very mixed up, where you don't really know if this is a program and if you actually should do this, or if you're deciding this consciously, or if you run by the program at the moment. But every time you have this question, you can ask yourself, do you really want to do this, or what is the benefit actually of doing this, whatever it may be. If this is like eating, or you can ask yourself, is this good for me? Does this support my health? Is it positive or negative? Does it support my goals, and so on? What is important to understand is that most of our time we are operated by our subconscious mind, 95% of the time. So let's get deeper into the topic. Definition and functions. So we first talk about the conscious mind. The conscious mind, awareness, handles everything we are currently aware of and think about. This is just operated about 5% of your day. So if you are cooking, if you are having a meeting at work, when you do something that you need to concentrate, you need to think about, then you're using your awareness, you're using your conscious mind. If you're driving to work, for example, you may have the situation, you get into your car, you listen to music or you listen to a podcast, you arrive at work. But if I would ask you how your drive was and what you have seen, or if there's something special that happened, you would probably not even be able to recall, because you are actually doing that with your subconscious mind. If you're a new driver, of course, you are doing it very conscious. Functions: logical thinking, decision making and planning. All the logical thinking, the decision making, all the planning is actually happening in your conscious mind. Control manages tasks that require active attention, like solving problems or learning new informations. If you actively learn something, you will use your conscious mind. If you're just listening to a 5-hour podcast, or maybe if you're listening to me now, it's possible that you switch from conscious to unconscious mind. It's not always very clear what we are using at the moment. Rational thoughts engages in logical thinking, analyzes and making deliberate choices. So this is really responsible for everything that is logical, or we at least think it's logical. Example would be deciding what to eat for dinner or planning a project. This you need your conscious mind to actually plan out all the steps. Limited capacity can handle only a few pieces of information at a time. So if you compare it to a computer, your conscious mind has got a very slow processor and not much storage basically. It can just work very slowly. Our subconscious mind can be working much faster. This is also when we are in dangerous situations that actually our subconscious mind will take over, because a conscious mind would actually not be able to react in a car crash or whatever. This has to be done by our subconscious mind. Let's look at the subconscious mind. What about the awareness? Operates below the level of conscious awareness, managing automatic and habitual behaviors. So the subconscious mind is basically managing everything that you are not aware of. Like we had the example before with the driving. You are not aware of most of the things you do. You're not aware of the little steering you're doing. You're not aware of everything you do. And this is true for a lot of tasks you do. The functions stores memories, emotions and skills. Controls bodily functions like heart rate and digestion. Also this is managed by the subconscious mind. You're not consciously controlling your heartbeat. You're not consciously controlling your digestion. But what is also very important in this sentence is, if you read it again, stores memories, emotions and skills. So the subconscious mind is also responsible for a lot of drama you may have. It can be responsible for anxiety, for a lot of stress, for not understanding your emotions, because all of that is stored in this layer of the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is very deep, stores very much information. The control influences behaviors and responses based on past experiences and learned habits. You can imagine it like a database. Everything that you have ever experienced in your life will go into that database, and it will be processed there, all your experiences. And the thing is, your programming happens already, like we have seen before, in your mother's body, right? Even before you're born, you're getting some kind of programming. If you remember back the example where they actually gave the mother rat this electric shock and let her smell peppermint, and this was already programmed into the baby, and when the baby came to life, it would already have stress if it would smell peppermint. But then it continues from 0 to 2. We are in a different brain phase. So basically in this phase we can just take in information, and then even till 6 we can access 2 phases, basically 2 brain phases. And also in this situation we're getting in a lot of information. But if you think back, especially from 0 to 2, you will not have any memories what happened to you. So you just consumed basically the programming, and this is stored in your unconscious mind, and also till 6. And then there's later a phase that goes till 12, but then it's already a little different. The most important years are from 0 to 6 basically, and this will actually program your subconscious mind without you even being aware what has been programmed into you. Maybe you had a very bad childhood and you remember some bad stuff with the conscious mind, but most of the things that happened to you will be in your unconscious mind. This will very heavily, or this can very heavily influence your behaviors, your emotions, your feelings. Maybe you are feeling sometimes triggered by situations, by your partner, by other people, and you don't even know why you're getting triggered because you're not aware of the programming that happened at this time. Automatic functions manages routine tasks, and automation behaviors learn over time. So you can learn everything like driving a car, shooting a bow, swimming, whatever it is, you can learn and store it basically in your subconscious mind. So there's a lot of positive things that your subconscious mind can do for you, but there's also negative impacts that you could have from your subconscious mind if you don't try to work on it, try to understand it. An example would be typing on the keyboard without looking at the keys. Most of you are probably able to type on the keyboard without looking at the keys, and we have learned that in our early years or in school. Our subconscious mind has basically stored the locations of the keys, and this is why we are able to use the keyboard. We don't have to consciously think about where is this and that key all the time. Otherwise, we could not write very fast. Fast capability can process and store vast amounts of information simultaneously. So the subconscious mind, as we discussed before, can act very fast and can store a lot of information. This is why also in scary or in emergency situations, subconscious mind will come in and take over. And this can also be the problem. If you're stressed all the time, you will not be able to work from your conscious mind. And what that does is you are not living your life. You are run by your programs. And if you have good programs, then this could be okay. But like we discussed, from 0 to 6, we don't even know most of the stuff that has programmed into us. And this may trigger some stuff. So it's very important to be aware of that, how it works, that you are aware that 95% of your day you're like in chores. So you're doing things, but you're doing things basically on autopilot. Just 5% of the day you're deciding consciously. And if you're in work, maybe the decisions you take are just, let's say 4% of the decisions you take are based on your work, and maybe just 1% of the decisions you take are based on your personal well-being and personal life. So this should be changed if it's like that. What is the impact on behavior and health? The behavior. Subconscious influence. Most of our daily actions are driven by subconscious programs. This includes habits, routines, and automatic reactions. Example, driving a car becomes an automatic task once learned. Require minimal conscious effort. Habits and routines. Subconscious mind drives habits which are formed through repetition. Example, brushing teeth every morning and night without conscious thought. But it's not just that. Behaviors can also be addictions that are programmed into you. No matter what kind of addiction that is, it follows a pattern. It follows a program that you need to first understand, that you first need to actually become aware of, that this is a program. Then you have to ask yourself, do you want this? And then you have to come up with ideas or get some help to actually work on these programs and to change or reprogram yourself. Health, stress and healing. The subconscious mind can affect physical health